Marissa, it's Lauren, and I'm back again with a in-depth tarot reading. Going over your question regarding career, money, finances, just trying to get a look at this particular situation, if you're sort of making the right decision for yourself right now. And so I'm pretty invested in this and kind of seeing what's happening. I'm glad that everything has worked so far with South Africa. That is such a blessing. So I'm just cleansing this really quick. I've already shuffled it, and I cleansed it once before, but I'm just doing it again just to kind of make sure that you know that it's good to go. Okay, and I just chose this deck because when someone doesn't choose, I choose the one that's working really well for me that day, or I choose the one I'm drawn to. So I had a really good reading with this earlier, so naturally I needed to make sure it was really cleansed. But I'm feeling pretty confident that this deck is also calling to you. So usually I can work with like several different decks in one day, depending on the clients. So this is the manga, the mystical manga tarot. And I hope you can hear me. I'm having to use my podcasting mic, which is better quality, but it's really big and bulky. Well, not really big, but I don't want it in frame, so I have to have it off to the side. So I'm hoping you can hear me. It looks like it's funneling out a lot of noise. Let me see. Okay, that might be better. Okay, maybe that's better. Maybe that's too loud. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Test. Hopefully that's okay. Okay. We're just going to go with it. I can always crank up the volume if need be. Okay. So I looked at your question again, and it kind of looks like you're asking two questions in one, which is fine, like, because they're relevant, right? So the first thing you're really wanting to ask is the overarching question and the seed of what is making you fearful or hesitant, which is, am I doing the right thing? So we'll start with that before we get into anything else. So are you doing the right thing? Okay, so here's where the theme of this question is stemming from. The Empress reversed. I don't have autofocus on because it goes crazy. Like it'll just pick up any like dust particle that flies by. Very annoying. So the Empress reversed. So the Empress is linked to Venus, but it's also specifically linked to Taurus in a way because this is a more earthly presentation of Venus. We could say that the more air presentation is like the Lover's card, right? So we're getting this like huge sort of connotation with, oh my gosh, I'm terrified. All my money is going to go down the drain. And I'm a mother. The Empress is linked to fertility and motherhood as well. I'm a mother and I can't afford to put my child in a position where I cannot support her. And because the Empress is on her own, there's that implication that the Empress has a partner. So there's an implication the Empress has support. But especially if the Emperor doesn't come up in this reading, we can assume that this is also linking to the fact that you don't have anyone else to fall back on should things go sideways. So we really want to kind of get a sense of what's happening. So I'm just going to pull in a narrative form. I'm going to pull in triplets, as many as I can, until I kind of get the answer I'm looking for. And I'll ask specific questions if I feel like I want more information. Okay. So 6 of Pentacles reversed, the Judgment card. Ooh, that's a big one. Strength. Okay. So this is pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie. It is intense. It is an intense energy that you're dealing with, and it is ultimately, if we think about the astrology, because the Judgment card links back to Pluto, right? So we think about Pluto, where Pluto is positioned right now. Pluto is positioned in Capricorn, so it's making this beautiful trine to all those planets you have in Taurus, particularly some of those planets that are emphasizing communication, work, and your overall growth of a person, both internally and externally. So Pluto is really kind of giving you the opportunity to take this jump now, because it's a very transformative planet. Ultimately, it is being of assistance right now. So that transformation is probably going to be more flowing and more smooth. I think initially, like whenever we're going out on a business on our own, there's kind of always that understanding that we could lose money initially. So I think like this is a confirmation with the 6 of Pentacles. What this is saying is that initially there's an element of disharmony with finances, and there's an element of you not having as much to go around. I can pull cards for advice for that, but just off the top of my head, not necessarily intuitive, just like very pragmatic. I bet you there are areas in which you can cut and budget more in order to help you. I understand that that wouldn't be enough to like suddenly make rent, but it could definitely be speaking to the idea that you have to change your lifestyle a bit in order to be able to reap the benefits. The strength card reverse. So strength, when it's upright, talks about development of character. It talks about being able to merge and blend two seemingly opposing forces into one distinctive entity or one distinctive form of expression. It's also linked back to Leo. And Leo is an energy that is discordant or challenging to Taurus energy. So we already see that this Pluto is coming in. It's offering you the doorway to transform. We know you have Uranus that's been flowing, back and forth through all those Taurus planets. So we naturally aren't going to be able to necessarily expect a guarantee with this initiation, with this process. I think what's important to understand about the Judgment card is that you will learn as you go. And it's one of those things where even if you were to pull back now, that would also feel equally uncomfortable. So I don't really think that you're kind of getting discomfort no matter what. And I think what's important is to feel more courageous, to feel more capable of yourself. Because right now the Strength card reverse is telling me that you're starting to question your own capabilities rather than question the situation around you, whether you're consciously aware of that or not. And yeah, it is difficult. So the Judgment card, it's always a difficult situation dealing with the Judgment card, because it's like, things can get worse before they get better, but it kind of implies like you don't really have a choice, because this is like divine intervention, right? And that's why you see like the rapture is kind of like what's being depicted. It's like, you built the skills you built, you have the money you have, all the resources and the things more finite, like you have those in, like those are the cards you're dealt. So it's like, it's kind of one of those things with the Judgment card. It's like if you did a lot of the work like leading up to this, then you're going to be rewarded. And the overall, even though there will be likely downsides or things that are complicated or frustrating about this process, like you'll be able to make a lot of good use from what you have built for yourself. But if you didn't do a lot of that work beforehand, get ready, because like it's going to start. So let's just keep going and just, again, pulling in triplets. Okay. So the Justice card comes in, and I want to look really quick as well, because I know we talked about it in the past, but let's see. College consulting companies. Okay. I think it is very likely that a contract will come through. So, and the Justice card, I'll look for another element of timing, but the Justice card links with October. So I think what could happen is that you get an offer, and it's one with the King of Cups. This is one that brings you huge emotional relief. And it's linking you with something you've been wanting to pursue, not just on a level of vocationally, but also on a level of something that's lighting you more with like your passions or more with your aspirations. The Hermit card reverse is interesting here too, because the Hermit is a seeker and it's searching for something, right? When it's upright. When it's reversed, it means it's found its destination. There isn't that questioning anymore. And it's less of this like needing to be in this like methodical process and needing to, use all of your wit and your intellectual skills and all of your mental reserves to sort of find what it is you're looking for. There's more of this releasing of that mental constraints, and it's a little bit more of a freedom you can experience. So I'm feeling pretty confident that something's going to come through in October. So I think that you don't need to worry, but I will pull 3 more to clarify. Okay. You're getting a lot of majors today. Okay. Yeah, so the 8 of Swords reversed. You are not trapped, and you will come to realize this. You will come to realize that, okay, wow, like I'm in a position where I'm okay. This is one of those cards, like when it comes in as a relief card, you're like, what did I worry about in the first place? Like, I was fine, you know? So it's kind of one of those things where like you might be like prematurely starting to freak out. And I personally wouldn't at this point. Okay, and then the star card is sort of connecting you with networks anyways. So the star card deals a lot with the internet and like pop culture tarot, but it just deals with the public and like the masses, particularly on the internet. So this shows me that you do have this opportunity where this institution will come and sort of bail you out. And it's more from like this mental imprisonment, not so much from this like you're actually imprisoned or like your freedom's actually restricted because you don't have the resources to like keep up with your home and your rent. Like that's not the real underlying energy. The real underlying energy is the anxiety and the in some ways leading towards negative self-talk. So, and that's just it's completely natural. That's not me like trying to make you feel bad. That's just the nature of Taurus when their security is being compromised. And I say this because we're both Taurus risings, right? So I deal with this too. If I feel like my security, like if I'm losing my security blanket, I start to freak out in all sorts of ways. So you are not alone in that. And a lot of people could probably relate to that don't have Taurus energy, but it's especially stressful for people who are Taurus. So definitely I don't think you have anything to worry about. And you know, it's always one of those things too with something really important like this. Please get a second opinion if you have the means to, or I can try to seek a second opinion for you. That way you don't have to spend any more money, because sometimes I have a network of people I work with that are tarot readers that I can get a second opinion for you if you want, but especially because it's dealing with something like money and like your residence and rent. I would hate to tell you you're going to be okay. I mean, I'm right like 95% of the time when it comes to readings like this, but on the off chance that I'm somehow wrong, that would suck. One of the things that I think should prepare you, because this sort of, you know, like confirmation card or conclusion card, and I'll pull one more just in case, but the Five of Swords can indicate that if you were to get this offer, while it is a really big relief, there will be like stipulations and downsides with it. So it's probably going to be one of those things that you'll take initially, but you might end up ultimately going with something else down the road. Yeah, Ace of Wands reverse probably isn't going to be the project you want exactly. I think initially it's going to line up in a way where you're going to be just relieved from the stress of like not having to worry about like having money, right? But you know, and I should also say you might be freaking out because I mentioned October and I was thinking it was like closer to the end of September, so I'll double check on this. I don't want to leave off on an Ace of Wands reversed. Yeah, I think one thing about this position is that there's probably going to be either too many Indians or too many chiefs, and probably too many regulations or rules. So that could be something as well. One piece of advice I will give you though, on the off chance that this offer is something different, I don't think it is, but on the off chance it is, I would definitely recommend like still applying for like any old job just in case. You can always quit, you know, like if you get something more legitimate to come through. But even if that means like doing some kind of work that is like not aligned with this, but that's just practical advice. It's not what the guides are necessarily saying. Yeah, and this is definitely one of those points where like, you know, you won't be quite there. You won't really have arrived with this offer, but it's going to be a good sort of stopping place until you're able to sort of get enough of your bearings to move on to something else. So if I were to isolate that Judgment card a little bit more and just try to get some timing indicators. Justice card also can highlight the need to partner up with somebody, just letting you know, or the need to tap into like government resources. So that's something you could look into as well. I didn't get that pull intuitively. I'm just mentioning other meanings. Okay. So yeah, so this is less than 4 weeks, is what that is indicating. But let's just, okay, when the moon is in Cancer, when the moon is in Cancer. So if we were to look this up, and I have to, you won't see it on your screen, but I will see it on my screen. So it's going to probably be sometime this month or, so the moon's in Scorpio right now. So the next time the moon is in Cancer is going to be a couple weeks from now. Yeah, so the moon will next be in Cancer. It'll enter into Cancer on September 18th, and it will remain there for 2 days. So it'll enter Cancer, let's see, around noon that day on the 18th, and it'll leave Cancer around 3 o'clock on the 20th. So it could also be a water sign though, so it could be when the moon's in Pisces. But that's what I'm getting off of this, is that it's probably going to be mid-September, which it's probably going to be the 20th because 1 day later is when the sun moves into Libra. So that's what I'm going to go with for timing. So you can kind of utilize that information as you will. If you feel like you can get through a couple weeks, I would still apply to most anything and everything because that's what my mom always taught me. She's like, if you need a job or if you feel like if an offer didn't come through, you act like that offer is never going to come through. And that's just always been her perspective. So I've kind of just leaned on that. You could tell she was a Taurus woman, right? She was a Taurus sun. Okay, so now talking about, okay, so you were also mentioning something about networking. Okay, so getting more clients. Okay, let's see. Getting more clients. Okay, 8 of Pentacles. Okay, you gotta hustle, girl. You gotta hustle to make that bank. But this is a good card. So like, because you have so much Taurus in your chart, like anytime like water cards or like pentacle cards, or like, sorry, cup cards or pentacle cards come up, like this is energy that's more resonant with you. Like, so this is not a bad thing, but it's just showing that, you know, the energy around this is like you need to like be incredibly resourceful. But I think this is also aligning with a sense of mastery. So if it's not something that you have a skill set of, like that you feel like you need to like insert in order to make this process easier, you might have to invest in and sometimes with businesses, it's like pulling a line of credit. Like you may have to invest in getting someone to help you. Now you could always wait for this other offer to come through, and then if it does, you can start to like siphon off a little bit of money to eventually be able to do more of this thing. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm understanding your question correctly as well. Okay. So Queen of Cups, ooh, Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so your luck will change, okay? So if you're feeling unlucky now, don't feel unlucky now. Okay, I pretty much know what this is. I know what this is. Okay, so the Queen of Cups is really indicative of the planets you have in Cancer. Specifically, I believe your vocational ruler, hold on. Oh, no. I need to pull up your chart again. I always tie in the astrology, like almost every time. Especially if I know someone's chart. Sorry. Okay, it's not your vocational ruler, but it's the ruler of your ascendant. So because the ruler of your ascendant is in that beautiful Cancer in the 3rd, the way you're going to get clients is to convey an emotional message. To network, it means to try to get on people's level emotionally and to try to relate to them or try to find a way to where there is that like, oh, she was so pleasant, or oh, she she really made me feel better in this conversation, or I like felt this sense of friendliness and warmth. And you already have those things, right? Like you already have that ability. With that Venus in the third, you can communicate in a way that's very nurturing, that's very that could be very therapeutic. So you likely are already doing this, but sometimes when we're starting businesses, we can try to like come off like overly professional, or like really trying to sell people based on like mundane things like schedule and things like money and things like this is a great opportunity because you can make more money, like, and if you focus on like those type of things, that might not be able to like get you that type of network you're looking for. So what you want to focus on is like reaching out to people who like you can convey an emotional message to, and say like, I provide an environment that's safe for women. I provide an environment where you can put forth your own innovative ideas, or like, again, I'm not really sure like the full scope of what all you're doing. So I want to, like, as I'm saying this, you might be like, that doesn't make sense. But like, if you latch on to the baseline advice, you'll probably be able to apply it. Okay, so Wheel of Fortune is typically that your luck will change. This card is connected with Jupiter. And Jupiter is a benefic planet, and Jupiter does amazing Jupiter things. So Jupiter energy is going to kind of come in here, and slowly you will be able to expand on the energy, but not as slowly as maybe you're thinking, right? Because sometimes when we think slowly, we're like, oh, it's going to take forever. Like, no, you'd be surprised, like how quickly you could build something up. I would say if we were, again, looking at, how transiting Jupiter works, it cycles through all the signs, I think every 7 years. So I usually boil this down to like months usually. So like within 7 months, like you could actually have like a good little solid baseline, especially if you don't get tied up with another job that delays you. But that's all, it's really depending on this job that comes through, who it's from, if it's still within the field you're wanting to be in. But this is telling you with the Seven of Pentacles to be patient. You're sowing the seeds now, like you're communicating now, and you may not have gotten clients right away, but I guarantee you if you communicated with that Venus, they are going to remember you, and you could convert people later. This happens to me all the time. I get people that reach out to me and I may not hear from them for months, and then I hear from them out of the blue and they're like, oh, I really, really want to work with you. And a lot of times what will happen is they went to another astrologer who was, a little bit more within their budget, but they didn't end up getting what they wanted out of it. So then they come and work with me, and that could be something that happens with you as well. So let's just continue on and just kind of see what else happens. Yeah. Okay. So your anxieties will start to dissipate. You will have to, in this process, make some difficult decisions, and ultimately you will have to make decisions that at the time won't seem like good business decisions, or you might have to like turn away clients or turn down some kind of contract at some point. And I think overall logically it's probably because that would be the best decision. Yep, Ace of Pentacles. So yeah, this is a long game. This is a long game sort of pursuit. And I understand you're aware of that, right? Like Taurus people understand, we understand slow. We can be fine with slow, right? Like we don't need all the energy all at once. And plus that way when you do get in these places of conflict, you don't have all this erratic energy as well. Now Jupiter has a tendency to do that sometimes because it's very expansive. You could launch something even, like, right? You could build out like some sort of type of like campaign and like launch it, and it does really well. But typically, especially with the Eight of Wands reversed, is that there could be a slowing down effect. So like you could get a pop of like, clients, and then it could pull back. But ultimately, I guarantee you, like give it like a year of your life and you will be really surprised at the end result. That is pretty much what the guides seem to be saying. And again, this is from that erratic nature of Uranus. There are going to be ups and downs through this whole process. The nice thing is that once Uranus fully moves out of Taurus and moves into like Gemini and stuff, you're not even going to be really dealing with Uranus energy that much. It's not even going to be something that's on your radar. You're going to have that ease of the energy. And it's going to be so much better. I think the downside of that, though, is that it moves into your area of money. So it will impact you, but not the way it's impacting you now. Right now, it feels very personal, right? It feels like very overwhelming when Uranus energy is on our planets, especially when it's right on there. But because you don't really have any planets in that house, yes, it's your money house, but you'll be more aware of the fact that, like, yes, my money is going to go through ups and downs because I'm building a business. And that's how it is being a business owner. Okay, let's just see any like end advice, if any. Okay. Don't be afraid to dream, and don't be afraid to think bigger. But also at the same time, you still want to focus in on some of those ideas and not sit on ideas forever. So yeah, don't be afraid to brainstorm and get creative, but don't sit in that mode for too long, or else you can become dissatisfied with your vocation and your career. Hierophant reverse, I think this parallels a couple things. In this process, you're going to, in some ways, not feel like yourself, number one. Number two, in this process, you will lose the sense of stability and security. That's just evident. It's just something that's like gonna happen, but it may not be to the level that you think it is. You're also gonna need to take some unconventional measures likely. And a lot of that might come through idea generation, like developing something that you haven't yet thought of that will ultimately make you more successful and bring you more of that stability. But thirdly, sometimes, especially in different spreads, more modern representations of Rider-Waite, sometimes the Hierophant can actually be a card called faith. So in this process, you might lose your faith a little bit in yourself and your faith in what it is you can do. The advice is to not try to go to that level during this process, that you are very capable, and you need to lean into the Cancer energy more. You need to lean into the elemental water a little bit more, not overly lean into the earth. And that's kind of what it was saying in the previous statement too. Knight of Coins, don't be afraid to pursue things head on. But the nice thing about Knight of Coins, all the Knight cards tend to have very extreme presentations except for Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is one of the only ones that's like cautious and takes its time, but you also have to pick something and pursue it, if that makes sense. And, you know, based on what I know about you, like, this doesn't make sense coming out of my mouth, if you know what I mean? Like, because I think of like, no, Marissa's like strong, steady, and true, right? Like she's got great follow through, but for some reason, the energy right now is causing you to doubt and is causing you to think that like you need to do something different. You do need to do something different in some regards, but you don't need to throw everything out. We'll do another set of triplets. Definitely don't take on more than you can chew. Your tendency is to want to bring out your inner critic and be hard on yourself. If my advice is, when you have times like that, it's probably because you're picking up on a very real implication that your ideas have gone stale, or you're not thinking outside the box. So instead of turning that energy inward, turn it outward and generate some new ideas. If you are having problems generating new ideas, spark conversation with other people. Get advice from other people. Especially other people in the same field as you, or other people, entrepreneurs, other people in the business that you're in, the field you're in. Don't be afraid to market yourself. Don't be afraid to get yourself out there. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. More will be revealed to you through this process. You will not have all the answers up front. It is all a balancing game. The next couple years are going to be all about sort of just walking this tightrope. and having to make a lot of decisions. You know, you're going to be gripped with indecision regarding money. There are going to be times where you're going to want to take a risk, and there are going to be times where you're going to want to play it safe. And you have to tap into your own intuition and your own instinct to know when ultimately to leap into something and when to hold back and say, no, I'm going to wait that out. But your tendency is going to want to be to hold back, and your tendency is going to want to be to criticize yourself. And so you have to lean away from that. So it's almost like even though you're consulting, you may at times need to get a consultant to help you with the consulting because you're going to be much more effective as well if you're in a state where you're not tapping into Queen of Swords reverse. That tapping into Queen of Swords reverse is going to be, in a lot of ways, could be your downfall, and that's not what we want. So definitely don't be overly logical in this process as well. That is also going to be a tendency. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not have a million clients. It's okay to have weeks where like there aren't any orders coming in. I just went through a period like that recently. I had a whole week where I got like no orders, and that's been like, that was so scary to me because I have been like pretty much booked out since like January, but like I had no clients like a week or two ago, and then it's like slowly built up, and like today I'm crazy busy, but I started to like go into this like manic sort of like reaction of, oh no, I'm gonna have to like take down my shop, and I'm gonna have to go work for corporate America again, and I'm gonna be miserable, and woe is me, and like, you know, I kind of started going down that road, and I just needed to have faith and say the clients will come through, right? Like, yes, this is my present experience, but I know what I'm capable of, and I know the work that I've done, and my work shows for itself. So I will not be in this state forever. So that's kind of how you need to look at it. So anyways, let me know if that helps, Marissa. I hope that I hear more from you soon. Thanks. Bye.